Hi, my name is Angela Breidenbach. Most folks call me Angie. I'm the Executive Director for the National Institute for Genealogical Studies in the Canada company that you came to learn about genealogy. We also have a Montana company called the International Institute for Genealogical Studies, and that is our printing office. And we do a lot of support to the National Institute in Canada. So today we have a very special speaker with us, and I'm going to let Gina Ortega. Gina, could you wave for everybody? And she's in my computer. She's way up on the corner, and she is one of our main instructors, which extraordinaire. We love having her. I'd also like to introduce you to Cheryl Levy. She is down on the second row. She helps us out a lot with supporting our students and student life through the social media, through Facebook, and does our blog. So she is really helpful and another extraordinary person in the National Institute. Additionally with us, we have Brenda Wheeler. She is an extraordinary instructor, and she's on our second row right now, and she is down in Australia. So you might meet with Gina or Brenda for your analysis and skills classes and the video meetings for that. And we call those AS1, 2, and 3, in case you're wondering what some of those acronyms are. And you are welcome to contact us by phone at 800-580-0165. And you are also welcome to contact us through the website, genealogicalstudies.com. And there's a little chat app, and it goes directly to me, Angie. And the other way you can contact us is going through the email, which is admin@genealogicalstudies.com. And now I am going to turn it into speaker view. And if you are interested in doing that yourself, go up into the top part of your screen and just click the little view box and click on speaker, and you will only see the person that's speaking. I'm going to mute and turn it over to Gina to introduce our guest. And at the end, we're going to also tell you what's coming up next month.
All right, so we're very lucky today. Tina LaFreniere, is that how you say it? I want to say it in French. So Tina, oh, and you're muted again, is a Naples resident and a member of the Genealogical Society of Collier County and GS. She has been working on her own genealogy search for over 15 years. Her family has come to rely on her to keep most of the family records, and as people in her family passed, she has been the inheritor of thousands of family photos. Most are from the 1940s through the 1990s, but some date back to the late 1800s. And of course, like most of us, they're not labeled with names. As the wife of a technology executive and mother to children in technology, she thought that there was a better way to utilize technology to help identify people in photos. When she couldn't find a website suited to this purpose, she used her business background and knowledge of genealogy to build Related Faces, which uses state-of-the-art technology to help genealogists figure out who are the faces in the photos. So this is pretty exciting. I can't wait to hear more. So Tina, so everybody, if you can mute yourself, and if you want to turn off your video, you can. Tina, you want to go ahead and share your screen?
I will. Thank you.
Because I think you have a point.
Disabled participant screen sharing.
Try it now.
Okay, there we go. All right. I'm going to put this in slideshow mode. There we go. And I'm going to share this screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Lovely. Okay, I'm going to try something new tonight. I'm actually going to read my script off the computer. Usually I print it and it's on paper, but we're going to try something new. So I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to share Related Faces with you. I feel honored to be invited to do this, a live presentation for you all. I honestly hope that you will find Related Faces a great new tool for your genealogy searches. I think it's helpful to give you a little background about myself so you can understand my motivation behind creating related faces. I was born in Valparaiso, Indiana. My 2 times great-grandfather, Henry, had 2 wives. His first wife died giving birth to their 5th child, who also died. He had an additional 9 children with his second wife. They're shown in the picture on the left, and the man circled is Henry's son, Henry. Henry Jr. is my great-grandfather. The photo on the right is the William Foreman family. They are my great-grandmother Matilda's family. You can see her and my great-grandpa circled. Take a close look at the Foreman ladies. They all look so much alike, but more on that later. These 2 family photos where everyone is known are the first ones I load into related faces. These are my target people, and these faces have been key to helping me figure out who was who amongst the unknown people in my unmarked photos. From these 2 families and their descendants, I inherited thousands of photos. When you have that many kids, you get a lot of photos. Having so many photos is a blessing, but I had a huge problem. Like so many people in my situation, my family didn't bother to write the names of the people on the backs of the photos. So what to do? Well, I broke out the magnifying glass and sat down with my family. We passed photos around the table and did our best, but for so many photos, we were just guessing. So many of the family members look so much alike, especially on the Foreman side. Through my frustrations, I could start to envision what we genealogists needed and how a website for this purpose should work. So I decided to create Related Faces. Before we are finished, I will take you on a brief tour of the Related Faces and show you the workings. But first, I'd like to show you some of what I've been able to accomplish with the results I've gotten from Related Faces. Related Faces is intended to be another tool in your genealogy belt. Sometimes the results are very straightforward, but in most cases, Related Faces gives us a great place to start, but we still have to do some old-fashioned sleuthing. And that work can lead to multiple mysteries solved, just like dominoes falling, one leading to the next. In my family, I have the Foreman girls. My great-grandmother Matilda Foreman was one of 4 sisters who looked so much alike. We nearly drove ourselves mad trying to identify them in the multitude of unnamed family photos, and here are just a few. I want to draw your attention to a few photos. First, the photo of the 3 girls in the middle. Figuring out who was who in this photo was key to how I worked out which sister was which. Since all 3 are in the same photo, they couldn't pair with each other, and any pairings they did make should indicate who was who. Also, please notice the 2 photos under the arrows. We were certain the 2 girls on the right in each of the photos were Foreman girls, but we were not sure which was which. The other girls were completely unknown, or so we thought. Through all of the testing we've done, one of the things I figured out is to create profiles for the people who you do know first. Take the time to load those big family photos where all of the people are identified and build a profile for each of those family members. The reason for this is you are creating target profiles. The vast majority of the unknown people in my photos have turned out to be family members I know, but I didn't recognize. So how did I figure out who was who? I created a comparison grid. I used a chart like you might use a timeline in your document search. It allowed me to compare and see what made sense. I made my chart on a legal size sheet of paper turned landscape, but you could easily make one in Excel. To help you follow, I've added some animations. So on the left side, I positioned the photos where I did know which sister was which. They are labeled with letters. Across the top are the unnamed photos where I gave the girls a general descriptor. Here, I gave the photos a number. I gave each girl in each photo their own column. In the cells, I wrote the Related Faces pairing resemblance score. This score represents on a 100-point scale how much the 2 faces and any associated data resemble each other. On the far right, you will see the photo containing the 3 older sisters. Since all the sisters are in the same photo, the sister with the highest resemblance score with a named photo should most likely be that sister, and the results proved that to be true. Please look at the top row sister, Matilda. As you can see from the resemblance number, the individual face of Matilda paired the highest with her sister on the left in the photo of all 3. The sister in the middle also paired highly, but the resemblance numbers indicated that the first sister is Matilda. If you now look at the row for Louisa, you will see that the sister on the right very clearly paired highly with Louisa. Then if you look at the row for Lillian, you will see similar results for her with the sister in the middle. Now that I knew in the photo with all 3 of them who is who, I went about comparing those faces and the other photos where they were known to the rest of my unknown photos. If you look at the first 3 columns with the 3 photos of girls in white dresses, I used a similar method with these photos. It wasn't until I laid out many of my suspected foreman photos side by side that I realized I had confirmation photos for all 4 girls. I originally thought that the girls in column 2 and 3 were both the same girl, but as you can see, the girls in column 3 paired extremely high with Lillian, and the clothing styles for the 2 photos were very different. Lillian was confirmed in 1896, and the clothing style in photo 3 is from that time period, which confirmed the results from related faces that the girl in 3 was indeed Lillian. From the church records where I discovered Lillian's confirmation, I also found that Matilda and Louisa were in the same confirmation class. That told me that the photo with the 2 girls in column 1 must be Matilda and Louisa, but I still had to figure out who was who. By process of elimination, the girl in column 2 must be Grace, the youngest. Even though the blurry image of the child Grace did not pair with the older photo of herself, I did a clothing search for the clothing from 1915 when she was confirmed, and her clothing fit that time period. Also note that the girl in each photo has a bow in her hair where none of the other sisters does. Related faces figured out Matilda and Louisa for me. You can see the resemblance numbers returned by comparing the confirmation photos to the known photos for Matilda and Louisa in the first 2 columns. If you look at Louisa in the confirmation photo, you will see an asterisk. The last photo also has an asterisk, as does the resemblance number in the last column. That resemblance number is from the pairing between the photo with the 3 girls and the asterisk confirmation photo. It additionally confirmed that Louisa on the right in the confirmation photo. Now moving on to photos 3 and 4. Now my dominoes were really starting to fall. If you look at Lillian's confirmation photo and the photo from earlier with the tasseled backdrop, related faces returned a resemblance number of 99.99 between the 2 faces. So fantastic. You're not always going to get that result, just saying. Okay, I have now identified another photo of Lillian, but who's the other girl? I honestly thought I would never know, but the answer came when I was doing a search for Lillian's brother, Arthur. About 5 years ago, I was looking for community books on Porter County, Indiana, and the book on the left was on Amazon. Now, there wasn't a blow up of the cover. It was just a tiny thumbnail, but one face jumped out at me, the face in the teal box. I was convinced this was my Uncle Arthur. So I gladly bought the book, expecting that the inside of the book would have the list of the people on the cover. But no, there was nothing written up on that photo at all. So I stuck it on my shelf, and there it sat until I created Related Faces. Of course, I couldn't wait to check to see if I was correct, and Related Faces confirmed for me that I was, with a score of 99.74. I thought, how cool is that? Then this past May, I laid the book down on my desk and happened to be face down. Then I went to eat some lunch. When I came back and I went to pick up the book, I noticed the girl on the back and thought she looked very familiar. So I took out my cell phone and zoomed in on her face and loaded it into related faces. Immediately, she made a pairing, and look who she paired with, the girl sitting next to Aunt Lillian. Now, I was pretty excited, but I'm a good genealogist and I needed to confirm the find. Plus, I still don't know her name. So I reached out to the Portage Township Community Historical Society, and Kathy Heckman kindly located and sent me the names of the people in the photo. And there was Arthur Foreman and Delma Nicholson Booman. So now I had 2 more photo mysteries solved. Well, sort of. I still couldn't figure out how Delma Nicholson Booman was connected to me, but the name Booman was really sticking in my brain and I knew it from somewhere. I was thinking maybe it had been a neighbor. So I went to Ancestry and I put Delma Booman and found her in a 1930 census married to Emil Booman. Great. Then I searched for Emil and found him 20 years earlier living with his parents and his siblings, and bam, his brother Alfred's name jogged my memory. I jumped over to my tree and started looking on my Schlobaum side of the family tree. So let me describe my tree. At the top is Henry, the one with 2 wives, and Eleanor, the first wife we talked about earlier. Their oldest daughter was Anna. You should be able to see her on the left in the orange box on the 2nd generation line. And on the right, the same generation line, you will see my great-grandparents, Henry and Matilda Foreman, and I'm in the lower right. If we go back to Anna and go 1 more generation down, you will see Anna's daughter, Edna Sonicson, is married to Alfred Booman. In the lower left is an insert showing Alfred and his siblings, and Emil is married to Delma Nicholson Booman. So Delma Booman, a girl I had no idea who she was and never thought I would, turned out to be connected to me not once, but twice, both through my great-grandpa Henry Schlobaum and my great-grandma Matilda Foreman as her sister Lillian's friend. And now I have added her photo to my tree. There's 1 more domino to fall. One day I was loading this photo of Uncle Bill, Aunt Minnie, and their first son, Fred. I already had a profile for Uncle Bill from the Schlobaum family photo, but I had to enter Aunt Minnie and Fred's data. So when I finished loading the photo, I was stunned to see that Aunt Minnie had a pairing. When I clicked on the pairing, you could have pushed me over. I was stunned to see that Aunt Minnie and great-grandma Matilda's friend from the photo number 5 were the same person. Our family had no idea they were apparently best friends. Matilda died in 1909 from TB, orphaning my grandfather. And Minnie died in 1929. So the fact that the 2 friends married brothers was lost to us until Related Faces made this match. I was able to solve these photo mysteries by loading both my photos of unknown and known people into Related Faces. I created Related Faces to be an effective tool for you, and so you could receive clear pairings of the same or similar faces, create profiles for all of your people, even unknown ones, organize your photos and people, and collaborate with others. When you enter Related Faces website, you will land on your home page. This page is where you can navigate to other parts of the site, as well as get some help and be notified of new features and any issues we might be having. I designed Related Faces to be easy to use. We have built a very simple photo upload widget. On your computer, you can simply drag and drop a photo, or you can click the browse to select a photo, or you can log into Related Faces from the browser on your mobile device and load photos directly from that device, to include taking photos from inside the platform and loading them directly. The photo will also automatically save to your photo library. So this is handy if you're visiting relatives and want their photos. If your photo is sideways, we have built into an auto rotation feature, but there is also a manual rotation button if needed. You can then add any information you know about the photo. No information is required, but we do utilize any information to enhance the results when you make pairings. The one thing we do ask is that you always name your photo. We also give you the ability to organize your photos by creating photo boxes to hold your photos. And if you have additional information about the photo, that you can enter that in the notes field and it will be shared with others. After you click upload, we isolate each identifiable face in the photo and allow you to enter any data you know about each face. Again, no data is required for related faces to work, except you must either give the person a name, or if you do not know or are unsure of their identity, you give them a general descriptor. When you give an unknown person a general descriptor, you are telling related faces that you want this face compared against all of the faces in your own collection. The reason we have designed the platform to use either a name or a general descriptor is if you give a person a name, we're going to assume you know who that person is. And what would be the point of filling up your pairing page with images of pairings for people you already know who they are? Also, the general descriptor allows you to use descriptive names such as might be Aunt Mary, or woman in a big hat, or second man from the left in 1940 family reunion photo. You need only build a profile for a person once. The next time you load the photo, that person with that person in it, you will be able to select that person from a drop-down menu when you start typing their name. We also let you keep living people's data private. For people with for photos with multiple people, just select next and it will automatically advance to the next person. And when you're done, you can click submit. We build a profile for all of your people, whether they are known or unknown. When you select a profile, you will see that the profile's information on the left, and you can edit that information at any time. On this page, you will see all of the photos you have identified as having that person in them. At the top right is a pairings button. Click here and we will show you all of the pairings your person has made. As you can see here, we present the faces that resemble each other in clear pairings and show you their resemblance number below the pairing. This number is not only the similarity between the two faces, but also takes into account all of that data you shared with us. We also help you focus your searches. If you look at the top of the image, just below the blue bar by the orange arrow, you will see 4 buttons. These buttons allow you to filter pairings by all the pairings, pairings with just your own photos, pairings with other users' photos, or pairings with the Library of Congress, so you can better focus on what you're looking for. By clicking on a pairing, you will view the whole photo that your person has paired with, so you can make a thorough comparison. We also show you any data associated with that photo. If you pair with a photo from the Library of Congress, we give you the web address for that photo at the Library of Congress, and you need only click on that URL, and a new window will open and take you directly to that photo's Library of Congress page. You can then decide what you want to do with that pairing. You can move it to a holding page for uncertain pairings. You can decline the pairing and decide it may be someone else, or make a match, or just cancel and come back to it later. When you make a match, use the radio buttons to acquire any information you want that has been made available for that person from another user. Matching also gives you a copy of that photo and the associated data with the photo. If you make a mistake or you learn new information about your people, no problem. Related Faces has built-in ways to fix that. To edit the data for your person, enter their profile and click Edit. To edit for a photo, just click on the photo and a photo details page will open up. Click on the Edit button there. What if you incorrectly identify a person? Just click on the little head and shoulders icon to display the people page, and you can reassign people to the correct profile or create a new profile if you don't have a profile for that person already. So where are all those people photos and people profiles kept? And this is where you guys get to see the new stuff, because some of these color and edit features are not currently available, but they will be later this week. Okay, after you have, when you arrive here for the first time, there will not be any photo albums. You will only see the faces of the people you just created profiles for. To create photo albums, simply click on the box at the top of the treatments panel on the left, and a panel will appear. Just click on Add, the button right there under the photo albums, and it will open a panel, and you can write the name of your photo album right in there. And the list, we also give you a list of all of the albums, and those are clickable and will take you to that album. The albums are also editable. So if you make a typo or change your mind about the album's name, you can change it. We also give you the ability to change the color of your album. So you can also sort your groups or families by color. It's hard to see here, but on the lower color slide, you can grab that black box and drag it to the Roy G. Biv color you want, and then refine the color tone with the little white circle in the center of the top of the color block. You just click and drag that circle to the exact color you want. To put profiles into photo albums, you need only drag and drop the profile face over the album and release it. You will need to move if you need to move a profile out of an album, you just do the same thing, but drag and drop it over the general album you'll see on the inside. We also provide you a clickable list of all your profiles. It also indicates if the person was given a name or a general descriptor. As a tip, I recommend creating both a photo box and a photo album for your work in progress. This enables you to keep multiple profiles for those faces you suspect are the same person, all in one location. It makes it easy to compare photos and faces side by side, and you can easily jump from profile to profile. Your My Photos and Photo Boxes panel works very much the same as your My People and Photo Albums panel. In addition to creating photo boxes when you upload a photo, you can create them here by clicking on the box symbol and then Add button. We also give you a clickable list of your photo boxes. Photo boxes can be edited and color changed just as photo albums. If you cannot locate an item you're looking for, you can search for it. Just click on the magnifying glass and select which category you want to search, boxes, photos, or people. Then simply type in a keyword that you're looking for. It could be a first name or a last name of a profile you want to find, and hit enter. We will show you a list, and when you click on the correct item, we will take you there where that item is located. And those are the core features of Related Faces. I want to thank you for your time and allowing me to show you how Related Faces works and how you can use it to solve your photo mysteries. Your people won't always make the pairings that you expect, and sometimes it's frustrating, just like with document searches, but being persistent and sometimes adding just one more photo can bring the most wonderful results. I would like to heartily thank the National Institute for Genealogical Studies and for the opportunity to share Related Faces with you all. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, and remember, they aren't just your photos, they're your family history. And I also want you to note on the page that I'm offering you guys a 25% discount between now and August 15th. And that's the code right there. If you want to screenshot it or want to wait till it's on the Facebook page, that's fine. So now I have to stop sharing.
So does anybody have questions? That's amazing. How does it help if the system has, if you have an ancestor, but you have several photos of them throughout their life, does that help the matching?
Yeah, yes, it does, because we find it's kind of like a sliding scale. Have you guys, can you cancel? Thank you. I couldn't get it to stop, couldn't get it to pop down that little menu to get me to stop sharing. So I found it's like a sliding scale, and it was really interesting because earlier today I was looking at my grandpa's swan car, and he lived till he was 92. And I actually got a pairing with him that was over 50 years. And that's the biggest I've had so far. Up until that point, I had a 47-year sliding scale where I made a pairing. I have also loaded some faces of people out that I was pretty sure they were the same person. In fact, I kind of knew they were the same person, and they didn't pair, but there were circumstances where a photo was blurry. It was grainy. Their face was super tiny. All of these things. Remember that we are using a computer. We are using technology to do this. So there are some limitations to it. But all in all, I've been super pleased with what we've been able to do. And I actually did load one photo that was really, really crazy of Ida, the daughter I was telling you about earlier. It was a terrible photo, and it still paired with her. It also paired with her sister, and it paired with someone from the Library of Congress. But it did pair with her. It did pick her out.
So it's kind of like OCR, optical character recognition. There might be some faults.
There might be some faults. You will, especially, let me tell you, the photos that we have taken from the Library of Congress are very low quality, low pixel count. Some of them are very blurry. And you will make a lot of pairings, especially with ones that are of children. And we had to do some research on this because we were figuring out, why are we pairing with so many children? And then after I looked into it, medically speaking, we found that just as children can become anything they want when they're young and they can grow up, well, babies are born, they look a lot alike. And that's because they're very soft bone structures, and not until about 8 for some kids, 14 for other kids, they really start taking on those adult features, and then they really make pairings. Some of them, my Aunt Phyllis had her features pretty early, and she makes pairings with her face, in like her 20s and 30s pretty readily, but other ones don't. But they'll pair with a lot of people, so you have to be more selective with the children photos. But one of the other reasons we wanted to add those photos in the Library of Congress is that for African Americans, Native Americans, Asians, they don't have a lot of photos. Like, I'm lucky. I mean, I have thousands, literally like 3,000 photos I'm working through.
Wow.
And but they don't have a lot. So, but they have rich collections there. And if I can make a pairing or help them, that makes it worth it. So.
All right. Now, Dave is asking, and I'm not quite sure, did you say something about not scanning photos?
Oh, do not scan your photos with a document scanner. Okay, it could ruin them. So there's photos that have the silver bromide, silver chloride. I did this. I ruined a dozen photos, and I have another presentation that I do, and I show you how to digitize photos with your cell phone. Use your cell phone. It's great. It does an amazing job. Okay. But yes, I have put them on a scanner. When I first started this, I'm like, oh, I got to digitize my photos, slap them on a scanner. The results were like 300 dots per inch. And then I noticed a little bit later, I put them away and I went back to them, and I'm like, these photos look like they faded. And then I compared them, and they have faded, and they just keep fading, and I can't stop it. And they will wipe up. They will erase sooner or later. And all I have of the originals was those lousy ones I put on the scanner.
Okay.
So
Joy is asking, I understand you can share with others, but can you make it private to use just for yourself? Can you explain the privacy and sharing features?
Okay. So yes and no. So we give you the ability to keep private the identity of living people. If you mark living, we're going to ask you a question, yes or no. Do you want to share this information? And you can click no. But we did design this to be a sharing application. And what you load onto, if you load photos, they will make a pairing with other people. That is the purpose. The reason being is, I'll tell you a little story. I was blessed. I got to go to Sweden and visit some cousins that found me through through ancestry, right? I get to Sweden, and my cousin is crazy about photos as I am. And we make these appointments with all these elderly relatives. And we start going through 8 photo albums. And as I'm paging through them, there are photos in those photo albums that I have, but mine don't have a thing written on the back. And I flip them over, and they have dates, and they have people's names. I mean, this was like a gold mine for me. I got to bring those back. But the idea is that our family sent photos back to Europe or back to Asia or back to wherever they came from because their families were there and they wrote things on the back. This is us when we went to the World's Fair. You know, I'm making this up, but whatever. They sent them. So those photos are more likely to have information, right? So what I'm hoping is that if we take off and you tell two people and you tell two people, like that old commercial, right? That will spread, will build a nice database for genealogists of faces. And maybe somebody in Europe, like I got, had photos that were exactly the same. And there were some that weren't exactly the same. They were taken in sequence, like they took several in a row and they were just slightly different. And mine's just slightly different than the one she had. Yeah, it was crazy. We were just like gobsmacked at how many they had. And the part that's also interesting, my great grandfather died in 1930, and my great grandmother kept sending his family photos. So there was a photo of that they had. So
That's really special.
So there is no privacy unless it's living. Is that what?
Living. I guess you could just mark everybody living, but the faces will still, the photos will still share. The faces will still share. And you can opt to not put any data in there if you choose not to put data, but the faces and the photos will be in our database and they will share.
Okay. Jessica is asking, which features are used to make comparisons? What features?
Okay, so there are 23 points on your face, like in the corners of your eyes, the end of your mouth, the points of your ears. There's 23 spots. And then what happens with it's facial recognition. And then they measure what's the distance from here to here. What's the distance from here to here? What's the distance? On most people's faces, these measurements do not change throughout the life. The shape of your eye stays the same for the most time. Now, some people age differently and they may get, a scar, or they may have sagging eyes, and that can adjust things and make them not pair with their older self. But for the most part, these points throughout your life stay pretty much the same or very, very similar. And those points that we use and we compare. So now let's say that we had a photo that was in profile and we only captured the ones on this side of the face. And then it paired against another one. Well, we only have these sides. So we're only going to be comparing it against that half of the other faces. So you may get more pairings that aren't the person because we're using fewer points. Or if a photo is of really bad quality and we can't capture all the points. The ones that we do, well, 90% of the points we did capture are the same as this face or this face or this face. So that's basically how that works. That's one of the reasons why that data is so important, because if this person puts in the same name and this person puts in the same name, we push that number up. You're more likely to get true results. This photo's in Chicago, this photo's in Chicago. The birthplaces match, that pushes them up. If it doesn't match, we do push the results down, but not as much, because we still want you to see those faces in case somebody identified somebody wrong. So we just push it down just a little bit.
Okay, Vanessa, did you have a question? Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, I did. I have two questions, actually. I'm concerned about the copyright for photographers. I understand that, the photos that you have are out of copyright by a long shot, but
Right.
When other people upload, newer photographs from Olin Mills or the church
Right.
directory, or, somebody paid a photographer to do engagement pictures. What
Right.
about that?
Right. So we understand that what we have done in our terms and agreements, we say to the people, when you agree that you only upload photos that you have the right to upload. We do have a DCMA policy, and it's on the website. It's clicked right on the front, and it tells people that if you discover that someone has violated your copyright, to please let us know, and let us know as soon as possible, because each of these faces has a network that's built around them. And honestly, once they're in the network, it's almost impossible to remove them. So be kind. We also ask, don't upload pictures of paintings, drawings, or like busts of people, because those measurements are not the precise measurements of that person's face. It's a likeness, and it will look very much like them, but the size of the eye will not be exactly the same. The distance from here to the nose will not be the same. So this is not for that.
It also assists you then in avoiding infringing on copyright for an artist if you're not doing art as
Right.
representative.
If he's not doing art, right.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is something that we understand, but honestly, there isn't a lot, I can do about it other than after the fact, right? If somebody loads that, but we do ask that you don't do that.
And my follow-up question, if I may, when we upload our photographs that, are ours to share, what is the term of use? Are they still ours? Do you have any type of copyright, or do you, can you explain your term of use?
Sure. So we have a long-term lease. It is very similar to the way that Ancestry does a long-term lease. I cannot see your photos unless I make a pairing with them, or for some reason we have to investigate the database. I don't look into people's accounts. I do not take your photos. I do not advertise with your photos. I have 2 people that I advertise, I guess, or I tell their stories, because they're people that came to me and asked me to do something. And each one of them told me and gave me written permission to use their story. One is Andre Kearns, which he was the speaker at the NGS. And the other one is another woman named Denise Griggs, and she's with the Southern California group. And those are the only 2 people, unless you want, or I contact you, but I shouldn't see your pairings, right? So
that's really interesting, because Denise Griggs is going to be a future speaker for us.
Oh, she's fantastic. You guys are going to love her.
Yeah,
she's
coming
amazing.
up this fall. And so we'll just give that little sneak peek now, since you mentioned her. She has written a book about her mulatto great-grandfather. And so we're going to have her on sharing about that story and what research she learned about him and the mulatto society of the time to help people with their genealogy. So
that's amazing. Well, what's really cool about Denise and what I did with her is she walked up to us and she said, "Can you guys tell the difference between twins?" And I looked at her and was like, "I don't know. I don't know any identical twins to do that." And she says, "I'm an identical twin." And she brought us photos. And I actually have it in another presentation. And if you guys have time, I can pull it up and show you. But we were able to, on her sister, we were able to identify her sister correctly in every single photo. Now, some of the differences were 1/1000th of a difference.
wow.
Okay, on her, we had a little bit difference. She did pair with her sister, higher with her sister in a couple of photos. One of them was as a child, and she's making a face in the photo, and that's probably what happened, because it's kind of, she's looking down and she's making a funny face, where the other photo she's smiling, so she paired with her sister smiling better. And she told us afterward that she was in trouble with her mother and he was getting punished, and that's why she was making the funny face. So I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect, because it wasn't perfect, but with her sister, we got her every time. And Denise said she thinks it's because her sister's chin is slightly underbite. And we think that the software measurements were able to pick up that, or the facial recognition measurements, we're able to pick up that underbite and pick her out. So.
Okay, Kathy, Harold, did you have a question? Do you want to unmute?
It's in the chat, she says.
It was in the chat. Okay.
Oh.
Can we use
Okay.
pictures we find on Ancestry or Family Search, etc.? And I think that goes to the copyright question.
Yeah, not if they're not yours and you don't have a permission from somebody to use them, please don't, because I don't want to get in trouble with anybody.
So if they're not,
Oh,
Kathy, I can't hear you.
Your mic's not working.
Yeah.
what?
Oh, there we go. Okay, now we got you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So even if they are in our family tree, we cannot compare them.
If they are from a relative that said you can do it, you can do it.
Okay, if they're dead.
If they're dead,
That goes to copyright law.
yeah, that
and
depends if there's a copyright on that photo, right? Yeah.
And
But,
so
I mean,
the
So if there's a
copyright,
copyright on, if it's a family photo, like snapshot. Okay. But
copyright-
if it's a photography shot, then
the
no.
hold on, the copyright belongs to the person who took the photo, even if it's a family snapshot.
Right.
So for instance, if somebody took it for your 1970s family reunion, that copyright is still in force. Usually in the United States, copyright is 70 years past. There's a little bit of struggle there because there was a little copyright law change, but as a general rule, it's 70 years past the death of the person. So that is why
Person in the picture or the photographer?
the photographer.
Okay.
Right. And so if you're looking at something that's 1900, then unless that copyright was officially renewed, generally you're okay. If you're looking at something that's 1960s or 70s, then you need to ask that person. And if that person is dead, you could ask their estate or their heirs for permission because they may have given that copyright to them. Otherwise, the answer to that is it's still in copyright as is still enforced.
Thank you.
and that now, when you're at the family reunion and you're taking the Polaroids and those are not copyrighted, those are okay. What we're talking about is those portrait photos that.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So the ones of my great uncle playing with the mule, that's just a snapshot.
That's just a snapshot. Right. So we're talking about photography studios, and there is a place on our photos page where you can put in the studio where it was taken. Almost every single one of mine that I have looked up, they're gone. They're long gone. You know, the studios. The only one that it was around most recently was in Olin Mills in Valparaiso, Indiana. And that's a picture of my brother and I. So I didn't have to worry about that. But you know, be respectful of those things, right? And we do say you agree in the terms and conditions that you are not going to upload copyright material. And if there's a problem, and I get it, then you're going to get banned from the site. So
one of the things that we can share with you from the National Institute is that we actually have a copyright class. I urge you to take that because when you're listening to something like this, it's like, oh, I might skip over or do something different. Please take that copyrights and guidelines class. And then in addition, we do have a photography class for you to take a look at. And I think it's very important that you look at the situation of that art, photograph, letter, card, whatever it is, prior to making your decision. But as a general rule, when you're getting past that 70 years, you're getting safer, 70 years past the death of the person. Because by law, technically the photographer, even if it's a snapshot, has copyright. I want you to be aware of that. And there are times when we go ahead and risk it. But I will never tell you to go ahead and risk it because it's my job to tell you to follow copyright. Okay.
thank you.
Okay,
That's why you're here.
we have some questions that are very similar, so I'm going to just ask you the three last ones that are not. So Dave asked, what is the cost?
Okay. So for 6 months, it's $64.99. For 1 year, it's $99. And you guys can get the 25% off between now and August 15th. And you get 14 days. Your first 14 days is free. And the one thing I'm going to ask you to make sure is when you start loading the photo, make sure that your ad blocker is turned off. We use PayPal, and PayPal interrupts the payment when you have an ad blocker on. And also, please don't use a debit card, because what happens is sometimes people use them and then after the 14 days, they get down below, they forget that they owe a payment to us, and then the payment fails, and then I have to track you down. I've only had a couple of those, but if you don't mind, please just credit card or your PayPal subscription and turn your ad blockers off. And we are going to be implementing, we've got a thing that's going to be coming that's going to stop you and show you how to turn it off. if it's still on, but that's going to be still probably a week or so out before I get that.
I might get a video from you on that. We have the same problem with the Institute. it's just the thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, how many photos are you allowed to load?
It's unlimited.
Unlimited.
We are not
So there's no space issue.
There is no space issue.
Cheryl has posted in the chat for folks that the Genealogy and Copyright Guidelines course, there's a link to it in case people are interested.
Oh,
Thank
lovely.
you, Cheryl.
Perfect. I might have to get that.
And then is this web-based or is it an app?
It is web-based. It is a subscription on the so you go to relatedfaces.com and you sign up, you choose your subscription and all of that. If you want to access it on the mobile phone, like your tablet or your mobile phone, you're at your cousin's and you want to upload some photos that they have that they said you can, utilize. You can go to relatedfaces.com and then you'll see it in mobile form. It is limited on the mobile. You can only upload photos and faces, and you can see into profiles. You can do some editing in case you had some data wrong, you can edit, but it is limited what you can do on mobile at this time.
And Tina, I know from your website that you're a family search solutions provider. So does that mean people can use photos that are on family search?
The family search has 3 levels of providers and we're kind of in the middle. So right now they have basically vetted us and they have given us an endorsement to be on their site. We're not at the top level yet where we have what's called an API, which is where our site talks to their site and you can load them. That's something that we'd like to do in the future. I think before we do that, the thing that we've been kind of working on is GEDCOM. And I don't want to make any promises about that coming. We are working on it so that you don't have to enter that. What's the problem is with GEDCOM, I don't know if you've ever looked at your GEDCOM data, it comes in this chunk and it's not really parsed very well. We've been able to pick out the dates, but the name is like one big chunk where we need it in separate fields because we need to know what's the first name, what's the middle name. So debating and we're trying to figure out, can we parse it? Probably not. It may end up everything going into the general descriptor and then you have to parse it out. But honestly, it will be a while before that comes. That is some pretty heavy duty programming.
Yeah.
And that here as we're building and growing ourselves.
Yeah.
All right, so I think I've got everybody's question and we're almost out of time. Does anybody have any other questions they want to quickly ask?
Jessica has raised her hand.
Okay, Jessica?
I'm sorry, I'll make it quick. Wonderful presentation. I just wanted to tell you, Tina, that I also have Foreman in mind.
Oh, do you
So
really?
I do. And so I just had to take advantage of the opportunity to tell you it's maybe we'll have to connect another way, but I was like, what?
Are they Indiana Foremans?
I don't think so, but
Okay.
in Illinois,
Oh
it's pretty
man,
close.
I think we need to connect because I have a lot of roadblocks on that side.
Well, I'll
okay.
set you guys up with a breakout room if you like.
Oh, that would be neat.
Sure.
Okay, one last thing that I wanted to tell you. We do have messaging in there. So
Oh, wonderful.
only people you pair with can you send a message to try to keep that privacy going. So if you have a photo you've paired with, below the photo you've paired with will have the username. You take that, you look at your list of the people, you can find their name, click on it, you can send them a message, but only those people that you have paired with.
Okay, and Nancy had a question. Does this work at all with Facebook photos? And I think, Nancy, do you mean because they're a smaller file, or do you mean does it interact with Facebook? We can't hear you, so you have to unmute.
There we go. I guess what I'm referring to is like my families, they post a lot of pictures of like aunts and uncles on Facebook. And I generally will copy them off of Facebook. Is that something I can download into this program?
I'm going to ask you not to unless you have
Okay.
specific permission from them to do it. And
So ask.
yeah, please ask. And also the size of the photo we're finding the sweet spot is between 1 and 5 meg. So if you can at all get the original digital copy from your family on it, rather than, because what you're going to get off of Facebook is going to be just a tiny, basically a thumbnail that they blow up. So the
Okay.
pixel count is going to be really tiny. And when you get below like 35 pixels by 35 pixels on a face, we don't even see it.
Okay.
Too small. So I would say, just, say, I want to do this. Can you send me the original and do it that way?
That's a great
Okay.
idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great question. Great idea. All right, folks, we are out of time. If any of you would like to go into a breakout room, you can raise your hand and I will do that. If you are happy with what has happened today and you want to pop on out, you can do that. I am now turning off the recording.